All right, Ray. So check this out. We have Nissan in big trouble, and they have been for a while now, but even more so right now with the environment that we're in. We have Nissan that's actually going to double the anticipated job cuts that they were planning on doing. We have plants that are going to be shut down. We have new dealer incentives to actually sell vehicles on these dealership lots. All these things, show big time warning signs coming out of Nissan. And for them as a manufacturer, I don't think they're the only ones, but they're the ones that are the ones who are moving the fastest right now because they have to.
Yeah, they're certainly not the only ones that are experiencing some financial difficulties at the moment, but they are the one that is probably facing the toughest financial situation, and they have been for a while. It all started, I think it was in the third quarter last year, where they announced their earnings, and fully 99% of their profits went towards incentives in order to sell the vehicles that they were selling. So incentives wiped out all but 1% of their profits. And they've been losing money. It's no secret. The prior CEO wasn't moving fast enough for the board, and so we have a new CEO who's come out with a plan, and to say that it's drastic would, I think, be somewhat of an understatement.
So just to put some numbers behind it, in their last quarter, their net loss was $4.5 billion. Now, as a publicly traded company, it's not going to be easy for you to sustain this kind of thing and still be solid. I know we had some news come out of maybe 6 months ago saying that they only had like 12 months left of cash.
Yes.
Well, we're 6 months into this 12 months of cash that they were planning on burning, and they're burning more now than what they thought that they were going to burn. And now we have uncertainty that's entering in the market. We have an economy, at least on the U.S. side, that's getting softer. And there's just a bunch of bad things that are setting up for Nissan. And I would anticipate that 12 months from now, the Nissan that we know right now probably doesn't look the same as it does right now, 12 months from now.
There will either be some white knight that rides in on horseback and invests some major dollars into Nissan, or they could very well be gone. One of the two, because they are not in a financial position to be able to sustain losses like this for any extended period of time. Their plants, as we know, are underutilized and have been for years. One of the things that they're talking about in the news about their major restructuring is there are 17 assembly facilities worldwide. They want to reduce that to 10. Well, that means that 17 out of the 17 assembly facilities are underutilized as far as the percentage of production that happens in comparison to the amount that could happen, that they could do. So if they're going to cut, what's that, 40% of their facilities, that right there tells you that they have so much more production capacity than they have need. And this is not a new thing. It could not be when you have 7 assembly facilities that you admit you're going to shut down. They've been operating in underutilized facilities for years and years and years, and they ignored it. And now they can no longer ignore it, and unless that white knight comes in with some hefty cash, who knows what the future will hold.
So let's talk about the plan, at least on the dealership model. So now they're going to the stair step, which I know you're not a big fan of. You've worked in Nissan dealership before. So what does this stair step? Let's go back. What is this stair step mentality, and how does it affect dealerships and the consumers?
Okay, so a stair step program from a manufacturer is the manufacturer sets a monthly or quarterly or annual goal. Okay, it'll be monthly, and there could be some quarterly and annual enhancements on top of it. So, on a monthly basis, let's just say for round numbers, you're a pretty decent sized Nissan dealership, and your sales objective for the month is 100 new cars. If you hit 90% of your sales objective, which would be 90 cars, they will pay you $300 per new car retail.
And that's retroactive. That's for
retroactive to car one. So that's what, $27,000? If you hit 100%, they will pay you, I think it's $600 or $650, which means you sold 100 cars in that month. And if you hit 110%, which is the second step in the stair step program, that total jumps to $1,200 per car. I'm not real good at math, but that sounds like about $132,000 that you can pick up directly from Nissan just for hitting your sales objectives. So for the dealer has to approach it as, at the beginning of the month, has to approach it as if they are going to hit 110% of their objective. And they just have to start giving cars away or selling them for minimal profit, if there's any profit, with the hopes of getting to that 110% so they could pick up the big bucks from Nissan.
I just want to step in real quick just to correct the numbers real quick.
Yes.
250 if they're at 90%, 500 if we're at 100 if we hit their goal, and then 1,000 if they beat it by 10%.
Okay. When did that come out? Because I thought it was $1,200, but
this, let me double check, because this might be a old article I just did. I
believe the new program was 3, maybe 5.5, and 12.
Okay, you're right. Because this is February, so that's me just typing something into Google and expecting Google to give me the most recent thing, and that didn't happen.
Well, Google wants to keep you on your toes, but what it does for consumers is it should mean that they're paying less. So that's a good thing for somebody looking to buy a car. It is a bad thing for somebody who already owns a Nissan, because these stair-step programs encourage dealers to cheap sell the product, which inherently negatively impacts the current wholesale values of their pre-owned vehicles. So your car, your 2023 Rogue just became worth significantly less than it did the day before, because dealers are going to be discounting the new ones much more aggressively than they had been. So in order to keep a spread so that somebody would consider the 2023 as opposed to the 2025, they have to lower the value of the 2023. So it has a negative impact on the wholesale values of the pre-owned vehicles. And I hate them because I think the term in the industry is everybody just whores the cars out. You're never selling value. You're only selling price. That doesn't bode well for a product, in my opinion.
And it seems like, too, it's going to put so much of a distinct weight on the end of a month, the end of a quarter, as compared. Like, I mean, did they do stair step whenever you were working there?
I have been confronted with stair step programs in my career, and trust me, you start at the beginning of the month saying we got to hit 110%. And you structure every deal on day one as if you're going to hit 110%, so that you know that you could effectively afford to sell it at invoice or well below invoice, utilizing even your holdback money, and knowing that you could have a net break-even deal where you make absolutely $0 on that sale, but you know you're going to collect $1,200 at the end of the month from Nissan, assuming you hit your 110%. So you start the month just assuming we're going to hit that number. We're going to do whatever it takes to hit that number, because if the difference is 300 to 550 to 1,200, well, trust me, a dealer does not want to leave $650 per car out there and not collect it. Now, let me say this. These type of programs often encourage dealers to report vehicles as a retail sale when in fact they are not.
No, not dealers. They wouldn't do that.
I believe it's called fraud, where dealers will do that and they will collect the money. And then eventually, when Nissan comes around 2 or 3 years from now and does an audit where they will pull a random 100 deals and they will make sure and they'll go, oh, well, 10% of these deals were bogus. And they'll look at the dealer and they'll go, we want 10% of what we gave you back. And the dealer will write a check, and most dealers will look at it and they'll go, it was an interest-free loan for 2 or 3 years. So, yes,
Nissan comes in and be like, well, you have a mighty large service loaner fleet. You have more service loaners than you have sales.
There was a time when I ran an Acura dealership, and one of the things when I worked for the Penske organization is they wanted you to be the number one volume dealer in your market. And it was imperative that I was the number one volume Acura dealer. And there were months where when we would do the retail delivery reports where I wasn't. Now, I knew in my heart of hearts, I outsold them. As I described it to my area vice president, but they out-RDR'd me. They reported sales that didn't happen. And the reason I know that is because we would do dealer trades and I'd get a car from them and I'd go to report it sold to my retail customer, and it would say, oh no, that car was reported sold on the 30th of April 3 months ago. How could that be? And I do know that when they went to my competitive dealership and they did their audit, that dealer had to stroke a check for like $250,000 back to Acura. And then the sales manager was suddenly unemployed. But I digress.
I have a question for you. So how stressful did the end of the month, when you're dealing with these different programs, how stressful did that get on you as a sales manager?
You know what you got to do. You start, you got like a week left in the month. You start looking back at the deals you hadn't made yet, people that had been in where they just wouldn't say yes yet. I mean, you're calling the customers back yourself, not relying on the salespeople to do it. You are in deal mode. You need to hit that number, and damn it, you're going to do it. So now, if you work for a publicly traded company, you're going to do it legitimately.
Right.
Yes.
So I've talked to some franchise managers, and this was back when Nissan was starting their program with like the Rogues, when they were doing added extra spiffs or whatever, if they hit 100% of their sales goals. And the franchise managers that I talked to is like, yeah, they got it going on, but we're never going to hit that. So it doesn't even we're not going to be close to it. And I would assume in this environment right now that there's so many Nissan dealers that are they're just kind of laughing this off. Yeah, we would love to be able to sell that many, even if we could break even, just to get them off our books or whatever.
Yes.
And it would be great to have the extra money, but we're not even sniffing that goal right now.
Well, yeah, the objectives have to be reasonable and realistic. And I've worked for manufacturers, for the dealerships, and you get a sales objective from the manufacturer that's a 20 or 25% increase year over year for the same month. And it's like, well, what the hell's that based on? I mean, it would be great if business was up 25%, but it's not. Business might be up 10% or 12%, but to think you're going to double that in order to hit this crazy objective they give you. So, the arguments go back and forth that when manufacturers do this, if they don't create a reasonable objective, then certain dealers are going to look at it, and it could be a majority of their dealers are going to look at it and go, screw that, never going to get there. It's so unrealistic. And then there'll be others, the high volume dealers that were giving away cars anyway, that they're going to continue to chase it. But yeah, the objectives have to be reasonable and realistic. If they're not, it just falls on deaf ears.
And I feel like stuff like this kills the smaller stores, because just like you're saying, the volume dealers would just give the cars away anyway. It doesn't matter to them. That's what they were already doing, right? To get their F&I department rolling, to get their service departments rolling. Like it seems like the smaller stores can't even begin to compete when you have programs like this that come out from their manufacturer.
No, if you're in a small town, you're a small town Nissan dealership, and maybe a good month for you is 30 new cars and 15 used cars or whatever it is. And for Nissan to come out and give you an objective of 45 new cars, you think to yourself, that's 50% more than I normally sell. I can't do that. I'm never going to get that. I don't have a big enough population base in order to grow my business that significantly. So yeah, a lot of the smaller dealers take a beating when this happens, because ultimately what happens is, because they can't reach the sales objectives, in essence, they end up paying more for the cars, so they can't afford to discount them as much as the dealers that are hitting their objectives and then getting all this extra money back.
Yeah, and it almost seems like it means that for those dealers, it's more beneficial for them just to go after margin and not even think about volume.
Exactly. Yeah, especially if you're a small town dealer. I mean, you should be just taking care of the customers in your small town, not worried about ridiculous growth outcomes that the manufacturer would want for you, and take care of your customers so that they always come back to you. That should be objective number one if you're a small town dealer. Now, if you're in a big metro and the dealers are very competitive, then you have to be competitive. You have no choice. It's part of the fun.
Yeah, it's all part of the fun. So if you're like right now, if you're in one of these smaller Nissan stores, you're running things right now, and you have a realistic goal, at least, of what you can actually hit.
Yes.
What shifts are you making right now when you get this stair-step program that comes into your dealership? Are you shifting the way you were doing things? How are you approaching this as a sales manager?
Well, there's two ways you can approach it. And one of the ways is you can kind of like ignore the fact that there's this giant pot of money at the end of the month. And you just operate as normal, and you structure all your car deals as you normally would. And then when you get close to the end of the month, you realize there's no way you're ever going to hit your sales objectives. Or you can approach it with the mindset that we need to be aggressive from Jump Street. Say a normal discount when you're doing things where you just wanted to sell the few cars that you could sell, a normal discount was like $500. Well, the new mindset might be, well, we're going to start every deal with $1,000 discount, okay, and go from there. We're going to show the customers that we're trying to be aggressive in order to, as much as I hate this phrase, in order to earn their business. You know, we're going to show them how aggressive we're willing to be. You know, we'll have the salespeople learn where they just, you know, last month we were only offering $250 to $300 off on any car deal. We're at $1,000. I can't, but we have this program from Nissan, and we just have to be uber aggressive. And so this is a great opportunity for you, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. And that's how you approach it.
Yeah. So we do have, you know, before we get to this question, let's see here. What was I about? So earnings forecast. Yes. So just like every other manufacturer that has reported, we have Ford uncertainty. Okay, we can't predict anything right now. We have Jeep, Dodge, and Ram, Stellantis, same thing. GM, same thing. No one is trying to set any kind of forecasting models, anything going forward. And I think we're going to see this probably for as long as anyone even whispers the word tariff. Yes. I think it's going to be that going forward for all these manufacturers. Right now, uncertain times, and we don't know where the economy is going either. So as status quo right now, Nissan is not predicting any kind of guidance going forward.
Well, and let's face it, it would be particularly hard for them to predict a profit guidance going forward, and they don't want to be the company that says, oh, by the way, we expect to lose $400 million next quarter. I mean, that's not the type of guidance investors are hoping to hear. So rather than maybe speak the truth, they just say, well, in these uncertain times, we're just not sure what our profit outlook should be for the year. So there is none.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So we have a question here about the assets that value that Nissan actually has, and why would it be worth it for someone to even come in and try to merge? We had this thing with Honda that almost happened. Just like Mr. C Northeast is saying, there's no super popular vehicle models, nothing that it seems like on at least the face value of this, there's not much value there. I can say that Honda, their interest in Nissan before it all fell apart was that they're going to be able to ramp production through some of Nissan's plants, and that could help them do a little bit more volume. But as far as that goes, anything in the U.S., I don't. What a value is Nissan? The name any of any value right now?
Well, I mean, is the goodwill associated with the name Nissan anywhere near what it was 30 years ago? Probably not. You know, they were always like the redheaded stepsister of the big three Asian brands of Toyota, Honda, and Nissan. You know, and Nissan was always well behind Toyota and Honda as far as sales were concerned. Do they have some strong assets, names that they own that they could utilize again? Yeah, I'm sure they do. You know, they're just not worth as much as they might have been. But there is still a certain level of goodwill associated with the Nissan name. And as important a market as North America is for Nissan, it doesn't mean that there aren't other markets out there that are equally or even more important to them. You know, Africa, Europe, like everyone else, they're struggling in China. But yeah, there's some assets there. I mean, you know, Maxima was a good name. They could bring that back. You know, there's things that the
Oh, we lost Ray. I don't know why. Anyway, but I want to pull up this right here. So when I think of Nissan, this is what I think of. I think of Bad CVT transmission. I think of bad CVT transmission. I think of transmissions. And you're all saying it in the comments right now. That's exactly what I think about when I think about Nissans. Another thing that I deal with as a used car dealer is like longevity of cars and how long they last, how long they keep their values and things like that. And I can tell you, if a car that has a Nissan badge on it that's like 2006 to 2012 goes through the auction, a lot of times we don't even look at it because of how garbage these cars are, how long they've held up, and it's just not something that we want to buy. I'm a car dealer that sells cars for $5,000 and under, and even I don't want to buy a lot of these Nissans because of how long they've had problems, how known their problems are, and that takes buyers out from even my car dealership. Even if it's a cheap Nissan, people won't buy it because they know the CVT. It's popular enough that the CVTs are known well enough to be that bad that people just won't buy them, even at my price points.
It's a tough brand. They made a lot of errors in the past 20 years. They dramatically cheapened the quality of their product, and that has come back to bite them in the ass. It's just that simple. The sins of past management are making it harder for current management to be able to revive the name and the reputation of the company. They are doomed to a certain degree because of the follies and the missteps of those who came before them.
All right, and we didn't mention the Z car at all, and we're getting
I forgot about that.
Yeah, we're getting some criticism about that. I can tell you that when my wife and I first started dating, here's a story about the Z car. Right?
Okay.
I had a 350Z.
Okay.
And it was a cool little car. I loved it. It was a piece of junk, and it was loud, loud, loud. And my wife hated this car. She was not about flash, anything like that, but I thought I was cool because I had this little cool sports car. Yeah, but the thing that really got my wife to be able to become my wife when we were dating is that I got rid of that car and I bought myself an $800 car, a Mazda 626, that the transmission hit so hard that it would move you in your seat. That I was able to do that and then take the money from my 350Z and actually make something of myself, start my business. That's how I got my first money to actually start buying and selling cars. That I was able to do that and not look cool anymore was what got me the girl. So the cool car doesn't get you the girl. The Z doesn't get you the girl. It gets the cheap car. The cheap car that looks terrible does.
Well, my first wife, bless her heart, always wanted a Z car, and we actually owned a I want to say it was a 1976 or 1977 280Z 2+2. I believe it was a 6-speed manual transmission that my first wife drove. She loved that car. But yeah, we had that car for until we got divorced. Yeah. And it was
that was a cool car though. Look at that.
Yeah, that was different than your 350Z. And it was, her name was Toby, and she wanted a personalized license plate that said Toby's Z. And I said, that ain't never happening unless you do TOE-B-Z. Otherwise, you try and do TOBYZ, it ain't happening. And it didn't happen. She ended up with a license plate that said Z Life, as in, it's almost French, as in, it's Z Life to drive a Z car. And then when we got divorced, I suggested that she get a new license plate that says ZX Wife, but she wouldn't do that.
Well, here's what I had. I had a little 350Z, but it had a cool paint job too. It had like a black stripe going down the middle and gray on the outside. But you could tell by sitting in. I mean, the car looks cool, looks like a little
Yes.
sports car or whatever, but you could tell on the inside, like everything's so cheap. Everything's plastic, and all the clips are coming off of everything, and it's just junk.
I will say this: by getting rid of that car, you ended up with the better deal in life.
I hope so.
Well, you got Mrs. Car questions answered. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I'm glad that I made the choice that I made. I will say that she's always in a plot to try to kill me. So if I'm just not here one week, then just you have to look. You don't have to look for motive. She's got plenty of motive, but that's who you need to start questioning. Is my wife. Yeah.
You've got a nice life insurance policy or two.
Yeah. She will be taken care of when she offs me.
Oh my God.
Okay. All right, we'll answer one more personal question here. Do you have a Hurley sponsor? My hat. I wear them a lot. I do. Usually I'm wearing the CQA hats.
Yes.
But this is my I don't care and I'm about to go on vacation hat. So
where are you off to?
Yeah, we're going on a stay vacation near Charlotte for 2 nights, and then we're going to the beach for about a week. So that's
sounds lovely.
Yeah, we need to get out of town, and we need to not think about the car market or our car lot for a few days, and that's going to be nice.
Well, I hope you have a great time and pick a lovely restaurant, have dinner, and send me the bill.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that, but I appreciate it.
Well, I figured you wouldn't, but that's why I offered.
So people ask about this every once in a while. So I think 2 years ago we had a bet.
Yes.
On for a steak dinner. And
yes.
I clearly won that bet. But nobody remembers that.
Yeah. I don't recall that, but go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah,
so you're saying I still owe you a steak dinner.
Yeah, you owe me a steak, or Car Edge does one. One of the two of you do.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I just want to bring that up because somebody owes me. Somebody owes me a
I just said, go have a nice dinner and send me the bill. I will reimburse. Or some year I will make it down to that area like we were supposed to. I mean, we had a room set up at the, I forget whatever steakhouse it was that we were supposed to go to, and we were going to film the whole dinner.
And then Zach tried to book with who was it?
Frontier. Yeah. Don't ever do that, ladies and gentlemen. And then it never happened because the weather wouldn't cooperate. Yeah.
We'll do it. We might have to come up there to you too, but we'll figure it out. We'll get something done this year. This year we'll get something done. Maybe there's a car show or something. We'll meet up at or something.
I am not one to not pay up. I'm just saying. So there, I'll pay.
Well, I don't care about you paying. I just want everyone to know that I was right and you were wrong. That's all I care about.
I don't recall that.
All right, well, that's enough for us today. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, do whatever. And I can talk to you about this right now. I'm not going to be here next week, so we'll have to reschedule and figure out something else.
Okay, be that way. I'll be here next week, but I'm not talking to myself for half an hour.
We'll just have to do a show the following week. But we appreciate you guys. Thanks for everything you're doing for us. And I don't know if you're doing anything. I don't know how to ever close these shows. All right, I'm going to hit the button.
Have a great vacation. And we'll see you nice and tan back here in a couple weeks. How about that?
All right, appreciate it, Ray.